Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by Jeremy Holm, the title character of the Ranger.
How you doing, man? Listen, I don't want to disappoint you, but I do have my head with me. I brought it today.
All right. But you might not leave with it.
If you don't follow the rules, you won't.
Exactly. So May 9th on Shudder, The Ranger. It's very cool because I got to see it last year on the film circuit. So I really dug it, and looking forward for people to get to see it. So how did you get involved in The Ranger?
Well, years ago, I worked at a day job with Jaco Farina, who wrote the original script before he and Jenn kind of reformatted it and rewrote it. And when Jenn went to him and said, "Hey, let's dust that off and rewrite it and do it," he called me right away. He said, "Would you be interested in doing this?" And then I didn't hear from him for a long time. And when I did hear from him again, he said, "Hey, we're ready to shoot this. You want to do it?" And I read it and I said yes.
So how did it change from the original script?
You know, I never saw the original script.
Okay.
So I don't really know. I know that the basic idea was punk kids versus a ranger. That was the idea. And, you know, I was trying to think when I read the script, I couldn't think of any other exact correlation. I can't believe no one has done this yet. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons I really wanted to do it. And I cannot wait for the Shudder world to see it.
Yeah. So when it's a big contrast with the character, which is interesting. You know, the Ranger is completely different than the punks. But I also think just not himself, but in a way it's a contrast in the movie because the Ranger is he's got a lot of one-liners and stuff, and then the kids are more like realistic. And was that like how you played the character, and was that like a known thing when you're making the movie? Well,
you know, there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor in the writing, you know, and I took all my cues about how I was going to build the character from the writing. You know, you can't play that character without a little grin on your face. Mm-hmm. But I also wanted to make him authentic and real. I wanted him to have his own problems and his own goodness, which I think he does. I mean, really, he's just a punk too. He's bucking the system in the same way that the punks are, just through a different filter. I think he's actually one of the biggest punks in the whole film.
And for me, I always like a villain who, what they're doing is right in their mind. I always think that makes a more interesting villain. And totally the Ranger thinks what he's doing is the right thing to be doing.
Yeah, and he, it's not easy for him to do it. Mm-hmm. It's painful in many ways for him to do it, but he knows, he's on a mission. He has to do it.
Mm-hmm. Now, was the original writer? Did they have any background in punks or punk music?
Yeah, both Jenn and Jaco were, kind of in the punk culture when they were growing up. And in fact, Jaco has a great punk jacket that he sometimes wears with all the buttons on it. I didn't know much about the punk culture before I did this film. Mm-hmm. And I kind of fell in love with it. Meeting, we had a lot of, authentic punk musicians, give us their music for the film, and we had a punk band at the screening in New York, and so I got to meet a lot of these people, and it's a really cool, vibrant culture, and I actually think it's having a huge renaissance right now.
Oh yeah, definitely, because we play a lot of independent music on the show, and a lot of it is punk, and it seems very popular at the moment, or big at the moment.
Yeah, we're big. I'm big on Die Laughing Records. They really helped us out a lot, and a lot of the people that they're associated with are their music is in the film. So it was definitely Mida Goodwin helped us a lot, and it was just fantastic to see how resourceful and how much that community works for itself. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So it was Jenn Wexler's first feature that she directed. What was she like when you first met her, and how was she as a director?
Well, every once in a while, you meet somebody in your life that has it.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked on House of Cards with Beau Willimon, and Beau Willimon is a guy who, when you're around him, he kind of vibrates intelligence in that way. And Jenn Wexler also has what I call it. She's really super focused. She's calm. But she's also adamant about what her vision is and what she wants. And she just has a real gift for imagery and storytelling. And I hope I get to do more films with her. I think she's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you a horror movie fan?
I wasn't really a horror movie fan before I did this film. So I set myself a goal of watching 100 horror films, and I asked everybody associated with the film to give me their top, 3 or 5 horror films. And with my wife, after we put our kids to bed, I would watch a horror film every night, in getting ready for it. And I kept a log and I journaled about them. And so now I am a horror fan. And if I could do horror movies only for the rest of my life, I would. It's just, the crews are great. The stories are great. The fans are great. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. What were some of your standout horror movies when you were watching The 100?
Sleepaway Camp.
That's a very fun movie. Yeah. One of the best endings. Yeah.
Yeah. And, even Sleepaway Camp 2 is a lot of fun. Grizzly. Obviously, a nice reference. The Cabin in the Woods. Dale and Tucker Fight Evil, fantastic. Love that movie. And of course, the classics. Night of the Living Dead is awesome. So those are some of my tops. Right there.
Yeah. She mentioned Grizzly, which I didn't expect you, but then I thought about, since you're filming the mountain, that's probably a good one. What was Hunter Mountain like to film in? I've been to Hunter Mountain. So
that's
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm from the mountains of Colorado, and the mountains in Colorado are a bit different than the mountains out here. I think there are more ghosts. You feel like there are more ghosts at night in the mountains out here. Maybe the history of it. It's cool and damp, and it's pretty spooky at night up there, which I love. I thought it was really fun. So I would wander around the set. They always have someone watching you on set, and in various places. I'm known because I don't like to sit still. I like to pace around and that's how I get ready for the scene and think about the scene that I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. So I would sneak around, try to scare the hell out of people. It was a lot of
Is there any hardships of actually filming, out in the wilderness?
Some people would say that there are. It's, if you're out in the wilderness, obviously there's not always a bathroom right where you are. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you're doing a horror film and many of the scenes take place outside, you're going to be filming overnight. And I have children, so I get up early no matter what. So when I'm doing overnights, by the end of the week, you can be pretty exhausted. But that's just part of the fun. That's part of the job. And then, of course, one great thing, some people thought it was a hardship. I thought it was great. No cell service. So you're completely unplugged out there, which is, I think, fantastic. Other people didn't like it so much.
Yeah, I remember being up there, and the cell service was very poor. It was hardly any place we could use it.
Yeah, and if something goes wrong, guess what? You're on your own. So you gotta think of that first. Have your first aid kit, all that stuff. You got to be ready.
Yeah, I like that too, though. I only got a phone the last 5 years. I thought I would never, but I do use it a lot. But I think that it can ruin a movie. I think cell phones, because it can end the movie so quick. You're like, well, they could just call their phone now, and that's the end of the movie.
How tired are we of turning on some show we like and seeing a scene taken care of with a text message? I don't need to see that shot anymore.
Yeah,
I'm tired of that. Give me something real.
Mm-hmm. So, was there any animals around? Because when we were up there, there was a black bear actually in the first. I just thought it was like someone carved a black bear, and it was like in someone's yard. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Then it started to move. I was like, oh, that's an actual bear. And then
Yeah.
it was in our it was getting stuff out of the garbage at our hotel.
Right. So, if you are from the mountains, or if you spend any time in the mountains, that's rule one: is don't sleep with your food or your garbage, and hang it up in a tree and keep it away from where you're sleeping. We had bears don't like noise, and they don't like lights, and they don't like fire. So if you have any of those things, they will usually stay away from you. Now, if it's late in the fall and it's been a real hot summer and there isn't any berry source left, they can get desperate. Or when they first come out of hibernation, they can be pretty hungry. And if you get a bear that's sick or that's super hungry, they can be dangerous. But generally, especially if you're with a horror film crew, they're going to stay away from you.
Yeah, yeah. Was Heather Buckley on set, producer? Because she's a total punk in real life.
She is the maven of horror. And I love everything about her except the way she drives. I rode with her a couple times, and that woman is listening to music and giving you a discourse on horror. And I don't even know how I'm still alive after riding in a car with her. And her car's like from 1965, and you don't trust that car. I hope I never have to ride in a car with her again. But I love her dearly.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned
on set. Yeah, she did. She actually did the interview for the extras package.
Oh, nice.
And she was a huge driver in our festival run all around the world last year.
Yeah, so the first time I saw it was at Boston Underground Film Festival last February, and then again at Fright Fest in London. And so, did you travel to any of the festivals?
I did, and I'm so sorry I didn't go to Fright Fest. I think I was doing the last season of House of Cards at the time, so I couldn't go to a lot of the festivals. But yeah. I did go to South by. I did go to Fantasia up in Montreal, and I also went to the to the screening in New York, which is a new festival down there at the IFC Center.
Yeah. Have you ever been on the festival scene before?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. So what's that like to watch especially your own film, with an audience?
Well, Jenn Wexler didn't let me watch hardly any. I watched one little scene because I had to do dubbing for it, and that's all I saw. So when I saw it in the theater for the first time, it really was my first time too, and it was agonizing because I had no idea. You don't know when you make a film how it's going to turn out because there's very little in your control. You can do what you're doing in the scene, but you don't know what they're going to use, how it's going to be edited, whether the music will be good, whether they colorized it right, is the edit good? You don't know any of that stuff. So when you see it the first time, I always find it to be an agonizing experience. But the audience really was supportive, and they really seemed to love it. A little side note, the first time my wife saw the movie, I can't say that because it's a spoiler. I don't want it to spoil.
All right, fair enough. Yeah.
Anyway, she loved the ending. I'll just say that. She was laughing hysterically, and I didn't know what to make of that.
Yes, I've seen the movie a few times, yeah. And if people, when they watch it, come back and listen, and that is a very odd thing to be laughing about, especially your wife. But
yes.
Or maybe it makes sense. I don't know, but
right.
So that was your first experience, I guess, with horror fans too. Then at the festivals.
Yeah, and I have to say, I think I'm a bigger fan of horror fan than they are of me. They're just great. They're unafraid. They do what they do. They love what they love. They tell you what they think. There's no bullshit, and they're really smart. Smart fans.
Yeah. So when you watch it the first time, the finished movie, had you seen? I know you didn't see the scenes, edited or anything, but were you aware of like a lot of the scenes that you're not in, with just like the punks?
Yeah, because if I can, when I'm getting ready for a film, I'm leaving in a few days to go do a film, and what I'll do today is I'm going to read the whole script. I read the whole script every day, and then I'll pick a couple scenes to work on that day. So I was very familiar with every single page of that script, because you never know if something that happens or something that is said in another scene, you can add a color or a layer in one of your scenes. You can do what improver would call callbacks. So you can highlight certain words, or you can, just note a certain tempo or rhythm, and you can highlight that, especially if you're not in act one of the film. It's your job to know what happened before that, so you can make it easier for the editor and the director when it comes time to shoot your stuff.
Mm-hmm. So when you first don the aviators and the whole ranger suit, and then you kind of see yourself in the full ranger costume, does that alter how you're going to play the character? Does that fully get you into the ranger character?
Well, I think that especially for the ranger, the costume is so important. It's important to how he moves, how he thinks. He has actually a slower pace of thought than I personally do, because he's more careful than I am. And I think a lot of that came from the costume, and Samantha Hawkins, who did the costume, she's amazing. And that's probably maybe one of my favorite costumes that I've ever worn in a movie.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love the aviators, and it's very cool that they've used that in a lot of the poster art.
Yeah, we didn't get to use them a lot in the film because, reflective glasses
I was wondering
are a killer for a director of photography. The angle has to be just right, and the lighting can't be anywhere in the, where it's going to refract back to the camera lens. And it's really a beast to shoot somebody with glasses. You can do it, but you have to have a lot of time and a lot of money to make it work.
Yeah, yeah. So I love all the gore scenes, and I also like that pretty much everyone, it takes a long time to kill them. Sometimes in horror movies, someone just gets hit and they're dead, and and then it adds a couple things. It adds a playfulness with the Rangers because he's kind of hunting the people.
Yeah, yeah.
And also adds to the horror element because these people are suffering for a long time.
Right, they're suffering, and they're getting a chance to think about their transgressions as they're dying. They're getting a chance to reflect upon why they're dying, which is sort of fun. When someone does something wrong, it's not real great if they just die right away. It's better if they have to face it and face the truth and the reality of it over a long cold night in the woods.
Yeah. Is it fun to kill the death scene, film the death scenes? Or
absolutely. Yeah, Brian Spears did all our makeup for that stuff, and he did such a great job, and it is I had no idea how much fun that part of it would be, but it's almost my favorite part of doing the movie was the gore.
Yeah, and it's all practical effects, I assume.
Almost all.
Yeah, maybe just things to enhance something.
Yeah, they enhanced some things, and actually, when I watched it, I was a little shocked at some of the things they did, which I'm not allowed to share, but
sure,
they did some things that were pretty cool in post.
Yeah, and I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a very weird and a great scene when you get to your basement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. I don't know which version you saw, but there's the version in the theatrical release, and I don't actually know what version Shudder is going to put out. They can put out anything because it's Shudder, so right. I'll be very interested to see. But I just wanted to lay in a kind of deep reasoning for why he is the way he is. And the pain and the need of that scene, I thought was really helpful. And, Jenn and I talked a lot about how we would do that scene. And I hope people love it because it's a freaky scene.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, I was actually going to ask about if the Shudder version is different because I haven't seen the Shudder screener. They didn't send one. So I've only saw the one at the festival, so I don't know. I didn't know if there's any difference.
I'm right there with you, Neal. I haven't seen it either. But May 9th, we'll be able to watch it.
Yeah, definitely. Did you keep any of the wardrobe from either the Basement or the Ranger?
No, and in fact, Black Fawn Distribution, which put out our DVD up in Canada, they were putting out a package with pieces of my shirt and aviators with a copy of the movie.
Oh, that's pretty wild.
So no, I didn't get to keep anything. But I have a feeling I'll be wearing those clothes again.
Okay, interesting. So did you think maybe you probably can't say, but would you like to play the Ranger again, I guess?
Oh, definitely. Mm-hmm. Definitely I would. Yeah.
So how was Chelsea to work with?
Chloë Levine is a really gifted actress. She is tough and super smart, and I really enjoy. She's a quiet person, so it's kind of interesting to see the last act of the movie. And I think she's going to have a huge career. I'm a big fan of hers, and I loved working with her.
Yeah,
we had a pretty intense scene, and we were on an indie movie kind of schedule, so we had to stay on time. And she was just really tough that day when we had to shoot all that stuff. Very physical, and the demands of it were at a high level, and she didn't shirk at all. She just went for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I talked to her in England, and I think she's a lot different than her character. She's not a punk, so that was interesting.
Yeah, she's acting for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that in the movie, you know that there's some type of backstory with your character and Chelsea, Chloe's character, and for me anyway, I thought it was going to be something different. I don't want to give it away, but it pays off in the movie. But I thought it was done well because it might not be what you expect it to be.
Well, and I think that's it's definitely something we were careful to not talk about too much. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can ruin a scene or a moment by overanalyzing it, or, one time I was doing a TV show, and I asked the showrunner, I said, hey, what happens? And he said, you don't know. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you don't know. And I said, well, I don't know, but I want to know. He said, no, you don't know. And his point was, the actor doesn't always need to know. And sometimes it's better if the actor doesn't know. And sometimes it's even better if the secrets of the film are kept even from the characters and the people playing those characters. And I think we successfully did that, in telling that part of the story in The Ranger.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned House of Cards. It's on Netflix, and the Ranger's coming to Shudder. With the rise of streaming sites, how does that affect the life of an actor?
Well, there's so much content being made right now, and people forget that House of Cards was the first show to ever stream, and people thought, no way, people aren't going to stay up all night and watch all 13 these episodes. People aren't going to, what happened to Thursday nights on NBC when everybody in the world could go to the water cooler Friday morning and talk about, whatever happened the previous night on TV. But I think we found that people still will stream something and talk about it online or IRL or whatever. I think that it's given young filmmakers and writers a bigger voice. I think it's there's a lot more content being made, so there's a bigger selection. There are tons of horror movies being made right now, and some of them good, some of them not so good. But I think it's healthy for everybody to have a voice and let the cream rise to the top. I'm all for it.
Yeah, it is interesting that for TV shows especially, because then you can used to be like if you'd miss a show when it first was on, you probably just weren't ever going to see it. But now with on demand and streaming sites, you can binge watch a whole series of TV shows.
Right. So then the obstacle becomes for the viewer. I need to be selective about what I'm going to watch, which is where people like you come in to be so important, because you get to be kind of a filter, and you save people the time, in your criticism of what content is out there. Some people don't like critics, but I think they serve a great purpose, especially now with all the content being made.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that's a good point. And I think even if it's like even if they necessarily don't like something, like if there are reasons they don't like it, maybe you could read that and think, well, that's something I do like, and this particular person doesn't like. So even like a negative review, I think could help something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
as long as that's.
There's no such thing as bad press, as they say. Anytime anyone asks me to do an interview about the Ranger, I don't care who they are, because I just want people to know about it, because I think it's really good. It's really fun, and that's where I stand.
Mm-hmm. I like that the Ranger laughs at his own jokes too.
Well, he's kind of lonely, so there's no
That's
one
true.
else to laugh, and he cracks himself up. You ever been alone for 18 hours? You
Right.
probably laugh at yourself a few times,
Yeah. Do you have any favorite lines? Because the Ranger has a lot of great lines.
When I apologize and I tell the kids that they got to keep the park clean, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah. One of my memories of being in Hunter Mountain is I was bitten by a spider, and I actually hallucinated. It was the only time I've hallucinated. It was a very strange experience. So hopefully there's no spiders around when you're in Hunter.
Well, I'm glad you made it out of that, because if you were hallucinating, that was a poisonous spider, my friend.
Yeah.
And no spider bites were had. No, we were all safe.
All right, good. Yeah, I still have the scar. I still have the scar. Kind of like ate my flesh away. It was not a good experience.
Oof. Yeah, that's not.
No. So, what made you want to become an actor?
Alone mom when I was growing up, and she died. And I think I founded the theater program at my high school, and I felt accepted, where I knew I could. I was, and I think it became my of grieving. For my. I think that kind of sealed it, right?
Oh,
and so, got no choice now.
Right, you're stuck in it at the moment. Yeah,
no looking back.
So the Ranger, May 9th on Shudder. I really dug it, and I know it really had a big buzz on the festival scene. So how important is the festival scene, do you think, for like an independent horror movie?
Well, I think it's hugely important, because that's where insiders in the business get to see the film and assess it, and then make recommendations, and then maybe the film gets bought, which luckily ours did get several deals. So I mean, if not for the festival circuit, those deals don't happen. It's also important for people to meet, for young directors and writers and even established ones, to meet people, possibly a new project that. Mm-hmm. And I picks got together was they met at one of these festivals, and they were able to put together a team to make this movie. And by the way, they're not done. I just finished a film that I can't say too much about, for Hood River, with some of the same people produced The Ranger. It's big stuff.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. Looking forward to that. So how can people, do you have social media for people to follow you online?
Sure. I have a Facebook. It's just my name. I'm Instagram at Holm Jeremy. I have a Twitter account. It's Jeremy Holm Actor. And I'm also live in Vermont, and I exist in real life too. So. All
right. Well, I don't want to give out information for people to follow you in real life. That might get a little.
Just know that if you come to Vermont, I might be watching, so don't litter.
All right, very, very good advice. So it was very cool to talk to you. I love The Ranger, and I have a video interview with Jenn from last year. People could check out. And it's very cool to see it from the festival scene, and now it's going to be on Shudder, and a bunch of people are going to see it. And there's very cool shirts too for my friends at Atomic Cotton for people to get a Ranger tee.
Wait to see that shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
It's
wait.
very
To get
cool.
it.
Very cool.
Hey Neal.
Yep. Jeremy.
Next festival circuit, and thanks for your time, man.
Thank you. I had a great time.
Okay, cool.
Thanks. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.